liners, thank you very much for your visit to the channel Transmission Lines Engineering TV. This is the video number 4 of this series, Wiring the World, in which we will talk about the electrical development of the regions of China and Asia. So we will start with the electrical development of China. China is another very extensive territorial region and with very variable geography. However, China, since its inception, had a key tool: discipline combined with an impressive work culture. The electrical industry in China had its beginning in 1882, facing the greatest of its challenges, being the most populated country in the world. In 1919, the Chinese physicist Sun Yat-sen proposed the construction of a large dam on the Yangtze River in the vicinity of the city of Shanghai. By 1949, the electric industry in China was nationalized by the ruling Communist Party, which placed very considerable funds for electrical development, as it was seen as a national priority for the modernization of the country. In the same way as Russia, China invested in the research and development of technologies to build its own generation and transmission systems by implementing efficient management programs for its systems. On the other hand, China lived through starving and poverty in 1958, so the government invested heavily in rural electrification to boost irrigation, drainage, and agricultural production, and in this way, by early 1970s, a large percentage of the population had access to electrical service. In 1976, the power generator was not yet able to satisfy the demand for energy, so between 1980 and 1986, the energy market was open for local producers and even for foreign investment. The maximum achievement of China has been the construction of the hydroelectric plant 3 Gorges, which is the largest in the world in terms of generation capacity, 22,500 megawatts, located in the population of Sandoping, and is fed by the Yangtze River. Its construction began in 1994 and came into operation till 2008. Currently, China has an impressive number of fossil fuel, hydroelectric, nuclear, and wind power stations. Unfortunately, it was not possible for me to find further information about the development of its electrical infrastructures in China, but undoubtedly, China has a great history, not only for electrification but also as a scientific and technological development. Now we will talk about the development of Asia. In this section, we will talk about the geographical zones of India and the south of the Asian continent, which is Philippines and Indonesia. Another very large area that also has its history of electrification at the end of the 19th century. In India, in the city of Calcutta, the potential of electrification was presented for the very first time in 1879 by the firm P.W. Fleury and Company, putting into service the first electrical system to supply the cotton mills of Mackinnon and Mackenzie, and subsequently, by 1995, the first license was approved, and after that, in 1997, the firm CESC, Calcutta Electric Supply Corporation, was created, whose headquarters were located in London, in Great Britain. Towards 1899, the firm CESC put into service the first thermoelectric power plant with which it will begin the task of electrifying India, and in 1902, the horse-drawn tram system will be modernized by electricity. India grew at a very rapid pace, so it was necessary to implement more projects, such as the plant Alipore in 1902 and Howrah in 1906. By 1926, other plants will be put into service in addition to transmission lines with submarine cables. The most recognized was installed in the Howrah Bridge. Since 1931, India has developed large projects such as the construction of a tunnel below the Hooghly River with 90 yards of length, 6 feet in diameter, and underground cable in a gallery which still standing today and becoming one of the greatest wonders of engineering in transmission lines. In 1940, the Mullahore Power Station was put into service, which was closed in 2004, and in 1950, the Kausipre Power Station came into service, but it was closed in 2015. As for the Philippines, the electrical system in this region began to be organized in 1935, creating the company Manila Electric Company, Meralco, which was in charge of the electrification of the city of Manila. However, let's remember that the Philippines, it's an extensive archipelago, so this was another challenge for the region, especially for its rural areas. In the same year of 1935, distribution systems were created for those zones which were controlled by private companies or municipal electric systems. During the period from 1976 to 1986, the electric system in the Philippines was substantially increased, with which by 1990, the total electrification of the Philippines was achieved. By 1987, the Philippines drastically reduced the generation by means of fossil fuels, replacing them with the resources of each zone. Today, the electric system is based on 500 kV main lines to connect the country from north to south, having branches in 230, 138, 115 kVs and 69 kVs for secondary feeds from east to west. On the other hand, Philippines has had to develop remarkable submarine transmission line projects to electrically interconnect the different islands of the archipelago with considerable length, such as, for example, the Leyte Bohol project, built in 1997 to 2001 to connect the islands of the same name. Indonesia, on the other hand, it's another complex country formed by islands and extensive territorial extension. This is another example of transmission lines challenge. In 1897, before beginning called the islands of the east of the Netherlands, today what is called Indonesia, the electrification began, creating the Netherlands Indies Electric Company, NIEM, to supply the just-born industry in this country and some main populations like Batavia, what is today the city of Jakarta. By 1920, the electrical system began to expand towards the west of the island of Java. By 1914, Indonesia depended on the thermal generation, but from 1921 to 1940, the hydroelectric generation was promoted. Now, on the other hand, once the Second World War was finished, Indonesia gained its independence, but the electric system suffered from financial problems for its maintenance, operation, and of course its expansion. But in 1945, the Large Streak Dam Gas Company was created. Later, in 1965, the Perusahan Gas Negara Company, PLN, was created, having a constant rate of growth in electrical infrastructure from 1966 to 1985. Subsequently, in 1972, electrification began in rural areas of Indonesia. In 1979, a 500 kV transmission line was built, replacing the existing 150 kV transmission line system that will connect the west of Java coast with the city of Surabaya. Finally, in 1985, the company PLN operated some 4,000 kilometers of transmission lines from 70 to 150 kV lines, mostly in the Java island. So very briefly, this was the electrical development of this region. In the next video, we will talk about the electrical development of Japan, Africa, and Madagascar. So don't forget to subscribe and leave your comments on this one. So I'll see you on the next video. Transmission Lines Engineering TV, training to power the world.